Good morning from Ireland. Good morning from the Cobh Heritage Center. This is the cruise port where the Blarney Castle is, but we will not be visiting the Blarney Castle today. That was last year. Honestly, I don't know what we're doing today, but I know it's not the Blarney Castle. So, welcome to Cobh. Welcome to Ireland. Let's go. Got about an hour and 10 minutes before I have to be at the theater to meet my tour group. So, I guess we'll try to get some breakfast, and then I do have to run an errand. I need to see if I can get some cash exchanged at customer service. So, yeah. Let the daily cleaning begin. Before we get to guest services, let me give you a peek of the atrium from this vantage point. Some really cool details here. So I'm on deck 7. This is the light feature. Of course, that changes colors in the evening, and maybe if we look at it from below, it's actually lit up now. But I love this ornate seascape made out of metal right there on the elevator banks. This is a really pretty cruise ship. It was launched, I think, early 2004 or 2003, and pretty good shape still. Nice ship. Well, the cash is still USD. Kind of forgot that Princess stopped the money exchange. They used to do a money exchange. Now they will actually give you dollars for euros and pounds. But if you want to go the other way, you're gonna have to use an official money exchange, and I think there's one out there on the dock. And here's a little fuel for the morning. Got an iced Americano, ham and cheese sandwich, banana. And the light fixture's not fully kicking, but you can see a little light there.
247. C. Oh, C247, sorry.
Today, while we wait to skirt, we are sat kind of in the upper right-hand side of the theatre. I think most of the other groups have already left. We're a later tour. Today's excursion, the history of Spike Island. I did do a little research this morning, and two words that made this seem very exciting to me. Spike Island, also known as Ireland's Alcatraz. Dun, dun, dun. I always want to go to Alcatraz in the States. Never been there, so maybe this is a distant cousin.
The next best thing.
That's right.
It looks like we are almost complete with all the group. Let me give you some information about your excursion before we go ashore. Remember, your excursion, of course, doesn't involve any transportation.
So we're making our way to the gangway, and this is an interesting tour. We have to walk 15 minutes to pick up a ferry, and then we're going to ferry over to Spike Island. So, yeah, this should be a cool adventure. Another important and probably simple reminder: always take some photo ID with you. A lot of times you don't ever have to show it, but it's good to have it. So photo ID and medallion's all we need today. They took our passport, so that's all we could bring.
Now, we didn't bring a Coke today, so hopefully it's weatherable.
If you can see it over there, but there's a nice mural for the Titanic. This is part of the Titanic's history here in the port of Cork, or Cobh. It's just a beautiful, beautiful little spot. Since we have a moment.
Did you all give me your tickets for Spike Islands? Yes?
We did.
Yes? Anyone have tickets? Perfect.
Let's spot the ship. Oh, look at her. They've been calling her the Mighty Caribbean Princess. I'm down with that. The Mighty Caribbean Princess. I think we're the only ship in today, so but yeah, we're getting ready to start the walk to the ferry.
Just to be aware, as we're walking through the town, the footpaths are quite narrow, okay, and a little bit wobbly, so just take it nice and handy, take your time. I will be making a couple of stops. I need the invoice. I will be making a couple of stops along the way just to make sure I have everyone. If you can't hear me, just let me know, okay? So thanks a million, right? So
And off we go. About a 15-minute walk to the ferry is what I heard, so we'll see how it goes. Now, the last time I was here, we jammed ourselves into a little taxi for the ride to the Blarney Castle. But this year we're actually going to walk through the town, which is kind of nice. Pretty exciting.
Going to Iceland, is it?
Oh, this nice little park area here. Kind of a bandstand right here on the water. Pretty quaint. Pretty quaint. So it looks like we're tucking into Kennedy Park, getting a little closer to the waterfront. This will be nice. Like a walk along the waterfront.
Hey guys, you want to take a seat?
I'm already digging the style of this tour. We've stopped here in Kennedy Park to, of course, gather the group up and to take a little break, which that's pretty nice because you just don't really know everybody walking, what the fitness level and all that stuff is. So really cool that there's a spot to sit, but I can't sit when I can spot the ships. Check this out in front of me. Look at the beauty there. You've got the Caribbean Princess tucked in, and really kind of a nice look at the harbor. One thing I forgot about Europe is just a pretty big commitment to wind energy. So you've got a couple nice windmills there in the distance. And then you got this guy down here with his camera on a selfie stick, getting the views. I love traveling with Don because you end up with like this double perspective of things. So yeah, make sure you check out Don's stuff.
Immigration, of course, this town very associated with Britain.
Wow, so such a beneficial stop. Got to take a rest, and then we also got to hear about some of the great history, including Cove's role in Irish immigration. 2.5 million folks from Ireland immigrated to the United States, and some of the first people to be processed through Ellis Island when it was established in the mid-1800s. So yeah, cool stuff. Again, huge role in British history here, Titanic here, and now we're making our way to the ferry. Take a look at the cathedral here. It's massive, beautiful architecture. The bells were just chiming earlier. It's really kind of magical. Wow. Look at that. Spike Island Tours. Right here in Cobh Harbor. Or Cork Harbor. Not sure what's Cork and what's Cobh. Alright, so I had to ask the obvious question. You see both Cork posted and then Cobh posted. So I asked the question, so in the southern county of Munster in Ireland, I think this is right, there's smaller counties, and Cork is one of them, and Cobh is a town in Cork. But then there's also a larger town of Cork in Cork. But I believe Cork is the county, Cobh is the port, and we're getting ready to go to Spike Island. So please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the breakdown.
Concordia video.
Oh, Caribbean Princess. You're looking so beautiful in port today. Not a surprise, but the outdoor seats are popular.
They're popular. So you can film it?
Yeah, we'll go. So we didn't find an outside seat, but we did find an inside seat with a view, which I think actually may be better. The sun is kind of beating down. Let me give you a look at the semi-full ferry. It's not a very far ride for us, but it's a nice boat.
To proceed to muster station on the aft deck in an orderly fashion and await the instructions of the ship's crew.
Making the turn here.
A lot of years ago, my husband and I
Wow, so cool.
excursion.
Alright, so we're about to dock here at Spike Island. And Spike Island served a couple roles. It was a fort and then it was a prison. And it looks like a decent little distance to the fort. I do see a bus coming down. I don't know if they bus us up there, if we walk up there, but we're about to find out.
Here.
Just stand over here in front of me so I can see you. You can hear me.
So we got a little bit of a history of the island. It's been some documentation that there was a monastery here in the 7th century, but as of yet, they haven't been able to unearth any physical evidence that verifies that. But interestingly, before Ireland became independent from the British Crown in 1921, this was a spot in the 1800s where Great Britain was worried that Napoleon might make entry into Great Britain by sea. And so there was a lot of fortifications. So around 1867, just after the American Civil War, they plopped a fort here on Spike Island. So we're gonna see the fort. The fort became a prison and we're making the walk up there now.
As I said, Ireland got its independence in 1921, but Britain kept Spike Island until 1938 because this was all part of the treaty agreement. This is and so it's all about defending the harbour, keeping the British Empire stable.
So it's pretty interesting. There's still people that live on the mainland that actually lived on this island. There was a big event in 1985 where there was a riot. It was the 4th time that the spot had been used as a prison, and after the riot they decided it didn't make sense to have families on the same island as a prison, so they evacuated the families to the mainland. But yeah, fascinating history here. Not as steep of a hill as yesterday, Don.
Not quite. Not yet.
It is a little bit of a steep walk. The nice thing is they do have transportation if you need help getting up the hill. This hill here, completely man-made. I think the second time they used this spot as a prison was during the potato famine in the 1840s, and convicts were sent here. And then when that big move came to fortify this island, they realized that the only way they could really get the protection they need was to build this hill. So this hill built with convict labor, and it was a prison for 88 years during that time, in addition to a fort. Through the gate of Fort Mitchell we go. Wow. So we just got more history about the prison and some escapes. I'll tell you later, but now we're about to be orientated into the prison, starting off with getting assigned a crime and a mugshot. Our mugshot has been taken. Now we're making our way out. Wow, look at this place. Part of the prison was actually burnt during the 1985 riot. I don't know if that's super obvious which one or not, but wow, this place is massive. Look at this big center yard here. Like every time I enter in a fort, I'm super impressed with just the idea of protecting a harbor. Fortunately, we sail all over the world on cruise ships, and we're not really under the watchful eye of forts. Like I said, 4 times in its history, this was a prison, and I think they said the last prison closed a little after the year 2000, and then in 2016 it became a heritage site. And now they really encourage tourism here. So Yeah, it's lucky for us that it's not a prison anymore and that we're getting to check it out. Okay, I'm thinking this is cell block A because I'm seeing trees growing in the building. So this is probably the cell block that was consumed with fire. So it's 11 a.m. and now we've been set loose. It was, I can't say enough about Marion. Wonderful tour guide, gave us a ton of information, but now we have this huge complex to explore. Well, I guess we'll just start here. Where we're standing, it was the parade grounds for the fort. So this is where all of their exercises and military activity would play out. And you really start to sense the fortiness of this spot, even though it's renowned as a prison. And I guessed wrong as to which building was the 1985 burned out building, but the one I pointed out does have an interesting history. This building right here apparently burnt in the early 1900s, and this was an office building for people who worked here. And apparently this is where they kept the accounts for the fort and the prison. And apparently there was going to be an audit, and the night before the audit, the building burnt down. But the 1985 fire took place in this cell block. There it is. I can see the A on it now. Cell block A. Good reminder that Ireland is bilingual. You see signs both in English and then in the Gaelic. And this is a closer look at cell block A, where the riot happened and the fire happened in 1985. Another fascinating tidbit that Marion shared with us is that all of the buildings here were built for military purposes, save one building, and it's this building across the way. The gray limestone building there is known as the punishment block, and part of the policy is when a new prisoner would come to Spike Island, they would have to spend time in the punishment block, which was essentially solitary confinement. No light, no windows, 23.5 hours a day in there. And the idea was to begin someone's rehabilitation, possibly up to 9 months in the solitary block over there, where you could be reflective on your life while sitting in the dark for 23 hours a day. They do say that a lot of people went insane during that 9-month period and was transferred over to the psychiatric hospital, or I think she called it the lunatic ward. People going insane. And apparently the punishment block is also a hotspot for paranormal activity. So paranormal chasers come and spend the night here on Spike Island, and their equipment indicates that the punishment block is where a lot of the spooky activity happens. So I think before we explore the buildings, we're going to climb this rampart here, and you can actually see 2 more forts that are protecting Cork Harbor. Oh yeah, here we go. A little bit of a hike up here, but yeah, this really paints a picture. So here you see it. That little gap there is the harbor entrance. There's a fort on the hill on the right side. There's a fort on the outcropping on the left side. And so really, if you think about it, back when there were still wooden warships, you would have to just go through a barrage of cannon fire to clear that mouth entrance. And if somehow you made it, you're here at the third fort, and there, there's some modern guns here now, but this would have been lined with cannons, and you would have just got rocked trying to make land. Oh no, I've got to jump out of history mode for a second. We've got some ship spotting to do. Check that out. Just passing by the mighty Caribbean Princess is an Ambassador cruise line ship. I can't see the name of the ship. Maybe it's on the tail end of the ship, but yeah, I thought we might have been the only ship in today, but we've got the Ambassador ship, we've got the Caribbean Princess, amazing shot of the cathedral up on the hill. So just as you look at this gun pointed toward the harbor entrance, I mean, this really is the epitome of a protected harbor. But the ironic thing is Napoleon never came, and no foreign army ever decided to test the mettle of the British Navy, and so no guns have been fired here in Cork for aggressive or defensive reasons, only for celebratory or ceremonial reasons. So all of this fortification was deterrent enough to never have to fire the guns, which is pretty impressive. Pretty impressive indeed. Nice look at the wind turbines there. Really a great vantage point to look down on the whole port and then Cobh across the way. Looks like we can climb down into the rampart also. Check this out.
Heading to the boat, are you?
Let's see what's down here. Says entry on this side. I'm not sure what we're getting into. Speaking of paranormal activity, feels a little spooky in here. Yeah, I was gonna say, I wonder if there's another gun position here. This looks like it would be, I don't know, I don't think you would have a very big gun in here, but you know, the thing they were talking about is that really the way they built the hill up was with no trees and flat, so if somebody did make sure here, you would have gunmen here protecting this position.
This would be the original plot of the Cobh in Cork.
Wow. Just a tunnel to get down there. Pretty wild.
Mark this is camp.
And making our way off the rampart. Here's kind of the back of cell block A. So I'm really enjoying this hybrid of a tour guide and now self-guided because you can do stuff like take a bio break. The cool thing is right in the middle of the grounds here is a cafe that has a loo, a restroom as it were, toilet, I think that's what they say here. Yeah, I'll show you the cafe. So right here is the cafe, and then there's an Irish Independence Museum in the basement of the building with the clock. So I think we're gonna hit the restroom, hit the museum, and then there's actually I think there's an artillery or I don't know. I think there's a tank around the corner is what I heard. Man, who doesn't like to see a tank? Am I right? Am I right? So here's the restrooms. And then on the other side is a proper cafe. Yeah, so restroom facilities here, and then cafe through there. We've gone to the restroom. We're gonna head toward the Independence Museum, but along the way there is this artillery and military vehicle park. I think we can pop in there. And they do have a playground. You have to be 12 years old or younger. So sorry, Don.
Yeah, or a prisoner.
No slides for you.
I'm that age at heart.
That's right. Well, I don't. That may count. Here we go. Let's pop in here. Yeah, I didn't realize when we purchased our tickets today, we were getting a ticket to the gun show. The gun show, baby.
There's your tank, Tony.
Oh wow, here we go.
More like an armored personnel there.
How about all of this hardware? Wow. Looks like we kind of have the evolution of the guns here. We'll start at the oldest, circa 1760 to the 1800s. Small cannon. It's progressively ramped up. 1865 to 1890. You got this bad boy. One of the spotlights. 1938 to 1947. And then here you go. This is World War II era. Got the protected gun. Those would have probably been up on the rampart. Wow, look at this one. The coastal gun. This is probably the gun. The guy told us that one of those guns could fire 12 kilometers out into the sea. I would assume it's, oh, here's the range, yeah. This is it. Wow, look at this. The range, 12,000 meters, 12 kilometers. Now that's a gun. Yeah, we also have some vehicles here too. Look at these tanks. I really didn't anticipate this much military hardware on this tour. This is super fascinating. Fortunately, I don't remember. Don, do you remember what we paid for this tour?
I don't remember.
I don't remember it being crazy expensive, but this is really cool. Actually, I highly suggest it, especially if you like military history or if you like just good views of the harbor. This is pretty cool. We have the entrance to the Independence Museum coming up. Independence since 1914. The other cool thing about this tour, and we haven't really done it, is there is a digital story trail. So if you scan the QR code and there's an app, it'll actually walk you through some of the history, which is nice when you're self-guiding.
Nothing there, yeah?
Comrades and I believe we've struck the most successful deals of freedom. And so sure as we were so sure the freedom of our knowledge.
Obviously, it would be a challenge to show you everything in here, but I'm gonna take a look and read some of the signs, and we'll see you on the other side.
Yes, please. Take them away. How do you plead?
I refuse to recognise the court.
The court has heard all evidence for this case. Having considered the evidence, we now find you, civilian John Moylan, guilty as charged.
Really great exhibit tracing the independence movement back in the early 1900s, and then right across from that there's a museum dedicated to the defense, the Army and the Army Corps soldiers and their equipment. Check this out. Wow. Look at these artillery shells. Of course, we've already seen the guns over in the gun room, but these are definitely some of the projectiles fired from those guns. In addition to the Army and the Corps, you also have a naval display here too.
This is cool. Now they used to wear it that way.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
It's a genetic condition.
So we finished with the downstairs museum, but there is an opening to the big clock building. Not sure what it is. I think we'll have to find out. All right, so this is Mitchell Hall. Of course, we're in Fort Mitchell. No. Don contemplated it could be used for church services. This opening hall certainly suggests that that could possibly work.
Not like in the 1980s and 90s, his life became young offenders. Some infamously rioted and destroyed it only to pass the ambulance.
There's pubes over here.
So the solution to that was to put 6-inch nails into the windows.
Well, all evidence is pointing to the fact that Mitchell Hall was probably used for a lot of things. Gatherings, dances, church, school. Yeah. It's wild that even up until the 80s that families lived on this island. And back down we go. Take a quick peek at the cafe, see what we see. It looks like we have a gift shop here. I think there's also a gift shop on the way out. And then we do have a cafe over here. Coffee machine. That's perfect. Alright, so we've grabbed a snack here. Got some local crisp, which are cheese and onion, Coke Zero, and a napkin or a serviette. I said, could I get a napkin? And they were like, a serviette? And I'm like, okay, yeah, serviette. No truer a saying ever were there. Life happens, coffee helps. All right, so we finished our snack, and there's a couple gift shops, but I just noticed you can check for your mugshot here, so I think we're gonna take a look. Ye old gift shop. Let's see. So I did grab a wee number of postcards from the gift shop. We still have to go through the punishment block. So we're heading there now. Hopefully it's not haunted, as they say. Wow, it's already kind of dark. Looks like they're doing some excavation, archaeological project here.
Stop to you.
Wow. Could you imagine just being shut in here in utter darkness? Wow. I guess this would be the cell. So small. Yeah, sufficiently spooky. And the wild thing is, you know, you can get out of here. It's still a little spooky. Dare go up and see what's up here? Now they say at this last cell block there, sometimes you can see an apparition or a scary figure And the rumors are true. There is a scary figure in the last... oh, I'm sorry, it's Dawn. I didn't mean to call it. This is like an art gallery. Beauty from ashes. Wow, these are all art pieces done by prisoners.
If you see this cloak, guilty 10 years.
All right, that was the punishment block. Did not look like a very pleasant place to hang out. To start your journey out here. And then, interestingly, after the riot in 1985, they figured out a place to isolate the fellows that started the riot. I think that's the last thing we get to see before we start heading back down the hill. Yeah. So these are the cells that were built, or that were used to contain the 1985 rioters. Wow. Collection of shivs and shanks. Does not look promising for anybody that runs into that. These are a little bigger, kind of like a dormitory style. Wow. I'm assuming this is some more prison art. Fascinating.
You know? Yeah.
So, kind of in its modern state, it doesn't look so bad, but then you like walk through this big steel door and brings you right back to the fact that you're in a prison. Yeah, I couldn't imagine it. All right, our time is running out. We have to catch the ferry back at 1:30. Probably about a 10-minute walk, so we're gonna just pop out now, give ourselves plenty of time. And to get out, we have to cross through another gift shop, which makes sense. That is the tourist way.
It's the Walt Disney theme.
Thank you, Walt Disney. Oh, wow, this looks like a big... I wonder if that's like the mess hall or processing or something.
Or visitors.
Oh yeah, you know, visitors probably makes sense. Another Spike Island gift shop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hi. There we go. We are out the front gate. Take a quick peek back inside of this door here. This is a fascinating thing that you see with most of these harbor forts. So for defensive measures, there's usually a moat around the fort, but it's a dry moat. So invaders would come over this wall and then they would be in this dry moat area. And if you notice, the outer walls of the fort are slick. So you would almost have to have a ladder or something to siege this fort. But what they do is they station people on top of this wall to pick off the people coming in over that wall. So dry moat. And of course, this is super cool. I noticed this coming out. You've got the mighty Caribbean princess framed right in the gate of Spike Island. What a beautiful shot. And down the hill we go. We are free from Spike Island. What a great stop. I highly recommend this if you're in Cobh.
If you survive, most people didn't survive.
Yeah. Wow. Take a look at this shot, everybody. So 1:20 p.m. we are back in queue for the ferry, And it looks like it's going to be a 1:30 departure, so we timed this just right.
Give him something to do. Yeah. When he broke, thanks.
Thank you. All right, so we are back from our Spike Island adventure. I'm looking right across the water here at the White Star Line office where the Titanic Museum is. Trying to decide what our next steps are. But here's a look at the White Star building. Yeah, it looks like a little bit of a line for the museum. So I do need to tell you a couple of the escape stories of Spike Island, but we're on a separate mission now. I need to find a battery to charge my telephone while I'm out and about, and I think we found just the place. Or at least the place that may have it. Phone, fix, and PC. I see phones. I see tablets. Will they have batteries? We found what we're looking for. All right, success. And this phone shop, it's got wires, cables, and it's probably just a 10-minute walk from the cruise ship. Pretty cool. We have a green telephone box, green and white here in Ireland. Yeah, I think I said it already, but last year when I was here in June, I didn't really get to appreciate everything that you could do that's so close to the cruise port. And there's a lot. Now, I do recommend going to the Blarney Castle and kissing the Blarney Stone. That's what I did last year. I'll link that video at the end, but here's just one of the blocks. I'll show you some of the things you can get into. So across the street there, you have the White Star Line with the Titanic exhibition. This was the last port of call for Titanic. It didn't actually dock here. It moored off the coast, took on supplies. And then you've got the Rob Roy, which I do believe is like a pub or a bar. Liberty Casino, you have a Mexican food place. You've got the BMC food store. On down the street, of course, you have that phone place that we just checked out. You've got a gift shop all the way down, a coffee house, more restaurants, Spike Island Tours, where we just came from, and then all just right in the shadow of the cruise ship. It's always nice when you stop somewhere on a ship where there's a lot to do near the ship in case you don't want to book an excursion. And we talked to some folks that even said that the price for the Spike Island ferry much cheaper than what the excursion was from the cruise ship. So even if you want to do Spike Island, it may be a better value to just pay the ferry price since it's close enough to walk. And then set across from the Titanic Museum, there is this monument commemorating Titanic and this being its last port of call. Check this out. I feel like maybe we're in a Willy Wonka movie. You got Aunt Nellie's sweet shop. Like in the, look at these candies here in the old tins. Guinness luxury fudge.
These old tins.
Proper old candy shop. Very cool. And how many Wonka bars did you buy, Charlie Bucket? One? One chocolate bar? This is a memorial to the Lusitana. Another coffee shop and Supermax. Supermax, this kind of looks like a fast food joint. Papa John's. And just for perspective, the walk back to the ship seems fairly reasonable. Just a little brick sidewalk and fairly wide, so pretty walkable here. Titanic stuff everywhere, commemorating those lost on the Titanic. We're just walking in the shadow of this Commodore Hotel. Looks like maybe this hotel had a Titanic tie-in also. Here's a better look at the Commodore Hotel. This waterfront's so cool with all of the different colored buildings. So I'm just noticing the sign for the Titanic, but then the Kennedy Park where we went to earlier, it just says Kennedy Park on the placard going in, but this says John F. Kennedy Park. So I wonder if that park was named for US President John F. Kennedy.
definitely why I didn't go.
All right, we're almost back to the cruise ship. One more thing I want to show you here. This is the Cobh Heritage Center, and it says it's the Queenstown story. So this is what Cobh and this part of Cork was called before it was called Cobh officially. And this is where a lot of the Irish immigration happened from. So right, the sign over there says between 1815 and 1970, 3 million immigrated from Queenstown. So a little museum about the Irish immigration here too. And across the way we have the famous statue that represents the immigration, pointing to the States. But right now it's pointing to the mighty Caribbean princess. All right, the only thing left to do is to clear security and for me to tell you a couple escapee stories. So we're almost there. Okay, let's talk escapees. Of course, the burning question, was anyone able to escape from the Ireland Alcatraz? Was anybody able to escape from Spike Island? Well, yes, but a very interesting condition had to occur for it to happen. Now, in the early days of that prison, a lot of people tried to escape by swimming, and they would swim out to try to swim across the bay there. It never worked out. They were already in a weakened condition from the prison conditions, and a lot of people tried to escape, and they were just picked up by boats that the guards were manning around the island. One guy famously in particular, his name, I believe she said, was Charlie. Might have been Charlie or something else. But he got a special nickname. 5 times he tried to escape by swimming off of the island, and they picked him up every time out there in the water. So they got tired of messing with him, so he had to wear chains 24 hours a day, and he became known as the Chain Man of Spike Island. But back in the 1980s, there were some people to escape, and they did it a different way. They were able to escape by boat. So that appears to be 2 escapes that were successful, and both of them involved getting a hold of a boat. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed my adventure here in Cobh, the port of Cork. What a wonderful stop here in Ireland. Hopefully you get to do it sometime. Make sure you check out my last visit here when I actually kissed the Blarney Stone. That was a whole adventure. That video is right here popping up. Watch that one next, or it'll be in the description. Thanks so much for checking out this episode. Tony for La Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.